Dear reader, writer, lover of language, Sylvia Plath was a remarkable woman who battled with depression her entire life. She had an insatiable need to write, to create pictures for the reader, to carry herself and others to distant shores. This love of poetry and capturing life in swift words and confessions led her to her husband Ted. A writer and poet as well, Ted provided a type of companionship that both fueled and stunted Sylvia's mind. Her uncontrollable need to be understood and loved by this man scared his philandering senses momentarily. Unable to write much, Sylvia played the dutiful role of the housewife, baking pies filled with blueberries instead of writing poems about mulberry bushes and lakes filled with cadavers. 2 kids later, and after much suspicion, Sylvia's eyes were opened to Ted's sexual impulses. His need to keep his poetry fresh by changing his outlook, his depth of love led him to another woman, one he would impregnate and ultimately leave Sylvia for. A scorned woman, Sylvia let her depression boost her writing, giving her the fuel needed to complete her only novel, The Bell Jar. Much like her poetry, this writing is an autobiographical look into her shock treatments and suicidal thoughts and confused feelings toward marriage and sexuality. February 11, 1963, Sylvia Plath taped up the walls of her kitchen and let her gas oven lull her to an endless sleep. This wasn't the first time she had attempted suicide, but it was her last. Not long after her death, Plath's fame rose to the heavenly heights she could only imagine in her waking life. Sylvia Plath wrote in one of her diaries the following: "Let's face it, I'm scared and frozen." I hope you are altered after listening to this tribute to Sylvia.
These diary entries are written from the perspective of Sylvia Plath. July 1962, Plath discovered that Ted was cheating on her, so they split up. I wrote an entry for each month following until she died in February 1963. I tried to reveal her obsession with Ted and her drive to write the novel The Bell Jar. The diary entries are my repeating element.
Accounts of my nothingness, July 1962. It's almost 3 in the afternoon and I'm cold from the inside out. Heat is not an option in this distant country. Even my rage is chilled to the temperature of a fresh cadaver. I wait for dissection, but the only person to cut open is myself. And what would I find? That I'm still raw, still unable to purge my dissatisfaction, my madness? God toppled from the sky today, and he had the face of Ted.
Desire. It is a bundle of past recollections, shadows, a bag full of God. Everything writable and nothing about love. Lust and death a must. It is so beautiful. Remember this now. And by the way, it is dangerously close to wanting nothing. But nothing happens when I shut my eyes and all the world drops, leaving the sky, empty like everything else.
August 1962. Yes, there is joy and fulfillment and companionship, but what about when it's gone? It's like the limb cut off yet still aches. So I take to the only thing I can trust, my novel and the silence it creates when I'm not with it. Those thoughts that need to be told, written down to illuminate the darkness of the fig tree. I want someone to mouth me. This is my first big chance. September. Let me live, love, and say it well in good sentences. My alter ego, Esther, unleashes her desire to use writing to soothe her way out of her mind. She feels if it passes on her silent depression, the power of it will subside and no longer be a thick, thick smile. Like me, Esther is aware of her heart, its bowl of red blooms. Red and its vibrance will sit quickly with the black eyes of Satan in this autobiographical piece.
Things. Ask me what I wanted to be. Clouds. Strangle of branches. Bones. A hot bath. A deep breath. Soft brown earth. A fatal smile. Thick and numb as a fossil. Instead, I only wanted to lie, with my hands turned up toward God, the sky, and the closed casket I never wanted, eternity.
October. The bell jar is filled with stale air, no longer a lyrical whistle. Consciousness is horrible and overpowering. I thought the most beautiful thing in this world was Ted, and the ugliest thing is Shadow. I must get my soul back from you, but I have been inadequate all along. My writing is numb, and my lust wants to crawl back home beaten and defeated. I'll be okay as long as I'm proud to make stories out of my heartbreak. When I no longer see the beauty out of sorrow, I will no longer wake in the morning. November. My wintριest mood is approaching as fast as car on the ice. I have no brakes. I cannot make it stop. Eternity bores me. If it could promise ever-blooming flowers and the constant ebb and flow of the ocean, I would reach toward it. But as it stands now, I'm stuck in the state of mortality, tired of feeling the thickness of my hands, the lameness of my tongue. No one can stand the daily love I feel in me and give it back as good as I can give. December. Last night, Ted asked me what I wanted to be, and I said still his wife, and he blushed. And then we shared our love, a choice I made to be constantly alive. But he killed me with the words, "She's pregnant." I am the shadow of love. I cry and I lie after it. I lie to keep myself fresh, with the madness that a hot bath won't cure. How could I finish this novel without the real pain? Is anyone, anywhere, happy?
Destroy. The voice within me that is vertical wants to be limitless, a horizon. The days stretched ahead like a series of colored arrows, piercing the dead thoughts, wishes. I want to feel the shades, tones of tomorrow. Forgive life to see how important I am.
January 1963. The moon has smiled today. My words, my tatty wreckage of life, have been noticed, published in the wake of my flimsy spirit. But like a narcissistic writer, I can only think of the small pills from the doctor, my inability to talk to God, the fact that I am too pure for anyone. I hear my children's cries, but they can't silence the frailty of the human heart, a mirrored pool of thought. I used to think I was mad sometimes. Now I know I am, and so will their entire world. February 1963. I'll never speak to God again. I am dead to them, even though I once flowered.
The end. Death. So beautiful. No yesterday, no tomorrow. Forget time. I am at peace. No books, only shut lids. With constant spring and moonstruck kisses, I talk to God. But the trouble is, I have been inadequate all along.
February 11th, 1963. My dearest Ted, dying is an art, and I want to be a true artist, one who sees the world from a distant moment. Often I breathe and I wish I were closer to myself, to reality, to you, but I understand that's not in this lifetime. I hope to be reborn as an average person, one without the horrible consciousness. It's overpowering. I blame myself for this toxic state and can understand how my need has become your burden. My intense passion led you into the arms of lust, of willing mouths. But I pity them as much as I feel overwhelming disdain for my instincts. We're such delicate creatures. Paper flowers that are torn in the accident of insult. What is my life for, and what am I going to do with it? I don't know. I just don't know. Fear is personified in my waking moments. I've become a mother of more than my children. I'm a mother of otherness, a darkness that lingers in the portion of the brain no one understands. No voltage could write it. Still, I'm so naive, a fragmentary girl who plans to transcend from this slave state, this colossal job of merely living. I will still continue my search for another soul to cling to. Love, Sylvie.
I know many of you think I'm the cause of my own misery. The measured injection I speak of in my poem. But I'm here to tell you that I'm also exhausted. An exhausted dream of a man who carries the sadness of Sylvia on his elbow too. I cannot so much as yawn without thinking of Sylvia's clean, perfect mouth. I cannot picture the roundness of the sun without knowing how Sylvia used to fight with thick curtains and midday naps. To be the center of someone's madness is worse than the madness itself. All the guilt and shame is doubled and then tossed unwillingly into my face by Sylvia and her drove of feminists. So, I was lustful. I thought all of the artists understood that as a natural side effect of being passionate. You cannot control another person's need or pretend to be dutiful when the absence of responsibility is your need. I couldn't think that Sylvia's level of desperation had reached its heights because I only understood her as a down, wickedly clever but always down, in a cave of blinking lights, silent with no need for words. Words brought us together and tore us apart. My life with Sylvia has accumulated enough attention to keep me on the dark side of celebrity for the rest of my life.
The pen. So macabre and slim. It cuts my mind. I am a masochist, filling each stroke, take loops, rings around my stump like a tree. It reveals my age, my love, my regrets, and my inability to write.